It's time to break down the top 10 prospects of the Mariners farm system heading into 2025. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Thursday, February 20th, 2025. This is Tony Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our top 30 re-rank of the Mariners farm system comes to a close today with the top 10. But before we get into the top 10, a reminder as always that if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. So let's go over how we got to this point, folks. Coming in at number 30 was Carlos Jimenez, 29 Blas Castano, 28 Jared Sundstrom, 27 Grant Knipp, 26 Ashton Izzy, 25th Jeter Martinez, 24th Kendry Martinez, 23rd Tyler Guff, 22nd Brock Roden, and 21st Brock Moore. And then on yesterday's episode, we did prospects 20 through 11. Coming in at number 20 was Teddy McGraw, 19 Troy Taylor, 18 Josh Caron, 17 Hunter Cranton, 16 Tyler Locklear, 15 Michael Morales, 14 Ben Williamson, 13 Logan Evans, 12 Brandon Garcia, and 11 Jorge Bautista. So if you want to hear our thoughts on all of those guys, be sure to check out yesterday and Tuesday's episodes. But now let's get into the top 10. And like I talked about a little bit towards the end of yesterday's episode, this top 10 going to look a little bit different, particularly once we get into the top 5. So without further ado, let's kick things off with prospect number 10. That's Ryan Sloan, who was number 10 on this list the last time we did it back in mid-August. 19-year-old right-handed pitcher, comes in at number 11 on Colby's list, number 9 on mine. Second draft pick of the Mariners this past year. They were able to sign him to an overslot deal for $3 million. He was a guy that was getting a lot of first round buzz, but the Mariners were able to double up on him and Duran Senja, who spoiler alert, we're also going to be talking about at some point today. But yeah, Sloan, well-built dude, 6'5", 220. That's what he's listed as here. And he's already throwing mid-90s, can top out at 99. A lot of stuff to be excited about here with the 19-year-old who, again, is already physically filled out. It's just we haven't seen him in pro ball yet. So how are you feeling? It's not like really anything could have changed between the last time we did this and now because, again, he hasn't pitched yet.
Yeah. You hope he probably, got stronger. He's just 19 years old. So naturally he should get stronger as he goes through the rigors of professional sports. And so the velocity should, pump up even more. He should sit 95, 96, you would think, going forward. Like a lot of Mariners starters, he has a really good fastball. He's going to get value out of that pitch. But what's kind of interesting about Sloan is his best secondary, at least when he was drafted, it's actually a changeup, which is kind of different. There's a lot of focus now on spin and velocity, even at this young age. So most arms, their best pitch is fastball, and it's either a slider or sweeper or curveball. There's an obsession with that. And Sloan has a pretty decent slider, but his best pitch is actually the changeup. So it's a fastball, changeup, slider combination. He repeats his delivery pretty well. It seems very likely that he's going to throw enough strikes to stay in the rotation. And he's, might be a relatively fast riser for a high school pitcher. Now, obviously, there's a lot that goes into developing. It's not just, your stuff has to be good and you have to throw strikes. You have to build up workload and you have to learn how to take care of your arm and your body and all that stuff. So still a long road ahead for Ryan Sloan, but he is really polished for a 19-year-old. He's got the opportunity to have 3+ pitches. You could argue right now he's got 2 already, and we'll see what the slider does. The slider is certainly going to be good enough to be a quality third offering as things stand right now. So he should be a 3-pitch starter who throws strikes with all 3 pitches and has the opportunity to have 2 or 3 or all 3 of those pitches be plus. That's a minimum, a mid-rotation starter. So, yeah, and plus he already has the size. Like, there's not much dreaming left to do on, like, can he get taller? Can he get bigger? He's pretty well filled out. So Sloan is a super
Yeah.
interesting guy because he might be big league ready, at least in terms of repertoire and build and all that stuff. Strike throwing, he might be big league ready, in a year. But then it's
Mhm.
just making sure you take care of him and you kind of ease him in. So, yeah,
Right.
Sloan's gonna jump really quick in this list. I don't think he'll probably ever be number one, just because there are some younger guys who are even like Fellman. It just he'll probably
You also have the number 3 pick in this upcoming draft.
right.
That might
It,
very well be your next top prospect. So
and Sloan has a chance to graduate before any of those other guys because, again, he's a relatively polished pitcher for a 19-year-old kid.
you make it sound like we could see him at 21, 22 years old at the big league level.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which that's exciting. And you can obviously, I mean, you just look at the height and the weight and the repertoire, like you said, it's very easy to see why the Mariners really like him.
Mhm.
And
It's also
why it
worth
was
noting-
why it was such a unique opportunity for them that they just couldn't pass up on to go over slot on him as well.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that he'll be 19 all year. He just turned 19 about a month ago. So,
Yeah.
true 19-year-old. And, we'll see where he finishes this year or where he starts this year even. I don't know. They might just stick him in the Arizona League just to keep an eye on him, or they might challenge him with Modesto out of the jump, and maybe he ends the year in Everett. It'll be interesting to see how they handle him because, again, there are workload concerns with any young arm. And Sloan, as polished as he is, just can't escape that. There are going to be workload limitations on him this year. So we'll see how the Mariners handle that. But Sloan is very exciting.
Coming in at number 9 is Ty Pete, one of the Mariners' essentially 3 first-round picks back in 2023. Comes in at number 9 on Colby's list, 10 on mine. He was 9th the last time we did this as well. Still just 19 years old. He's played everywhere pretty much in the field. And just had his first full year of pro ball, which was mixed bag. Some good stuff, some not so good stuff. He struck out 31% down in Modesto. That's not great. I'm really interested to see where he winds up positionally and if the Mariners make a decision on that this year at some point. Because, again, he's played some second, he's played some shortstop, he's played third, he's played all across the outfield. So do they finally find a home for him at some point in 2025? We'll see on that. So how are you feeling on Ty Pete?
Pete's really fascinating because he might be the best athlete in the entire organization, regardless of level.
Yeah.
Plus speed, plus arm, plus raw power. It really comes down to is, can he take those skills and be a good baseball player, or is he just kind of a freaky athlete? And those are the type of guys who go at the end of round 1, where Pete did. But he had his ups and downs last year. Finished on the high. He was very good in the last month or so. Down there in Modesto, he struck out 31% of the time. He also stole 45 bags. Had 26 doubles, 9 triples, and 7 home runs, and a fair amount of walks, 55 walks in 468 plate appearance or at bats. That's not bad. So yeah, he's really interesting. I think the sooner the Mariners pick a position for him, the easier it'll be for the bat to develop. And that's the real question right now, is how much contact can he make and can he get to the raw power? Right now, strikeouts are too high for him. But basically, anywhere you put him, he's probably going to be above average to potentially plus. Like, I could easily see him being a plus outfielder, just the speed and the athleticism he has out there, plus the really strong arm. Easily play all 3 outfield spots. He's certainly athletic enough to handle center. Basically, put him anywhere except for maybe catcher. And yeah, don't forget, he also pitched a little bit in high school, and I think he hit 96 miles an hour as a pitcher. So yeah, Ty Pete is super fascinating player. There's definitely some floor here. And that's probably why, there's some range in where Pete ranks. I've seen him rank, he's the top 100 prospect, and I've seen him he's like the 12th best prospect in the Mariners system. That's a pretty wide gap. So there's some floor here, but there is immense ceiling with Ty Pete. And like you said, he's just 29 years old, or 19 years old. Yeah.
If he was 29 years old, we would have a problem.
He would not be on this list. But yeah, he's just 19 years old, and he will be 19 for most of this year. Doesn't turn 20 until August.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to continue with the top 10 here in just a moment. But first, a reminder, folks, that this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk or on a road trip or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snackin' and get crackin' with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. We are in the midst of ranking the top 10 prospects in the Mariners farm system. Just went over numbers 10 and 9. That was Ryan Sloan and Ty Pete, respectively. Now let's get into number 8, which is, this is going to be an interesting conversation, one that we've already had a few times on this show and over on our Patreon show as well. But Harry Ford has taken a dive in our list here. Goes from number 3, the last time we did this list back in mid-August, down to number 8 today. 21-year-old catcher comes in at number 8 on both of our lists, so we are in total agreement on this. Again, like we've talked about, he didn't hit for power this year in Double-A. And if Harry Ford can't hit for power, how good is he really? How good of a prospect is he really? There's also the question of where is he going to play? Specifically, if he does make his major league debut and play major league games as a Seattle Mariner. So how are you feeling about Harry Ford right now? I know you've been a big Harry Ford guy since before he was even drafted by the Mariners. You were a big Harry Ford guy, but where are you at with him right now?
It's all about the power. There are a lot of concerns here because Ford is starting to gain a reputation as somebody who's too patient at the plate, almost like he's going up there trying to walk. And walks are not bad. They're very good. But the problem is when you go up there trying to walk at the major league level, you are going to fail. It's just nobody has played in the major league level trying to walk, right? Walks are a result of discipline, not a result of I'm not swinging at this pitch no matter what, and I hope it's ball 4. And Ford's approach at the plate lately has seemed to be very timid like that. He's not hitting for high averages, but he's posting these astronomical on base percentages because he's walking so much. And it's not because pitchers are afraid to pitch to him. It's because he's not swinging the bat, and he's basically taking every pitch that's not right down the middle. And that is not a recipe for success. He hasn't shown any over the fence power either. And while I'm not really that concerned about whether or not he can catch, I think Ford is a fine catcher. Like I don't think that to me, that's not really a thing. Like, Ford's a catcher.
Generally speaking, he can absolutely stick behind the plate, but specifically within the context of being a Mariner, obviously you have Cal Raleigh. Like if Harry Ford is a corner outfielder for the Mariners, at least in his first year or two, then he's got to hit for more power.
Yes.
Plain and simple.
Right. And so, it's one of those things where it's like, maybe he can hit for an average, and maybe he can post better exit velos, and maybe he can, tap into power. But his whole approach right now seems to be, I'm going to walk. Like, that's what I'm going to do. And he won't swing at pitches he can do damage on because they might be balls. It's just one of those things where it's almost a timid approach at the plate, and I need him to be more aggressive at the plate. So I still like Ford. He's still a great athlete. He still will steal bags and again, if
there's a reason he's still in the top 10.
Yeah, he's still a really good prospect.
Yeah,
he's in the top 10 of a really good farm system. Like, he's still a really good prospect. So.
And by the way, on the power front, I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, there hasn't been a ton of over the wall power that he has displayed, but this was also a pretty atypical season for him power wise. Like, he had slugged well above 400 in each of his other stops leading up to AA. And of course, that ballpark down in Arkansas is hard on righties, especially when it comes to hitting for over the wall power.
Right. Doesn't change the issues or the concerns that people have with his approach at the plate, though. It doesn't change the fact that he was just frankly disappointing at the plate last year either. So yeah, there are very real concerns here. Again, I'm not really all that concerned about his defense anymore. He's such a good athlete that if he does end up having to move to right field or whatever, he'll figure it out. He'll be good out there. I'm really not concerned about the defense. I think he's at least a playable catcher at the big league level. And if you can catch at all and also play other positions, that's insanely valuable on the bench. So it's weird to say, like, I'm not super worried about Ford, but I'm a little worried that his ceiling is just lower than we thought it was.
It's just, is he a good prospect or is he a great prospect? That's really the conversation here now, right? Because again, he's still a top 10 worthy prospect. It's just, if he winds up elsewhere, or if his role ultimately at the major league level becomes, corner outfielder or a utility player or what have you, how does his offensive profile fit?
And if he does start to chase power, how big of a drop is that in his on-base skills? Because again, he's not hitting for a super high average. He's just drawing an insane amount of walks.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those things where Ford at the plate is kind of a tweener right now. And a lot of people in baseball feel that way about him behind the plate as well. Is that it's like, I don't know if he can catch or not. Again, I think he still can. I think he's going to steal bases. I think he's going to, still draw a fair amount of walks. He's starting the year in AAA by all accounts, so he's getting out of that ballpark. We'll see how the PCL treats him. But one last thing I do want to note here on Harry Ford. I believe he's entering his age 22 season. I think this is his age 22 season, not his age 23 season.
Yeah, he actually turns 22 tomorrow. So happy early birthday to Harry Ford.
There you go. Yeah, so he's only 22 years old. It feels like we've talked about him forever, but he's just 22. He would be in his first full season of pro ball if he had gone to college. He's still a very young prospect. He just happens to have, 2,000 plate appearances in the minors now. Like, it's been a lot, and so we'll see how this goes. And it just takes a little change. Not
even, by the way, like about a little over 1,500.
Yeah. So it just takes a little tiny tweak in your approach. I think there's bat speed there. I think that there is, 20 home run power there. Just he's got to get to it, and we have to see it before we can just assume it at this stage. But we're down on Harry Ford, but we're not like
just down on him relative to the top 5.
Yeah.
Right.
He got passed up.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Which again, it isn't to say like he's now. Like, is he just a lottery ticket at this point? Or no. He's still a really good prospect that I think is going to be a quality major leaguer. It's just how good exactly is he going to be? Is he going to be a 2-win guy, or is he going to be a 4, 5, 6-win guy?
Right. I think Harry Ford would probably be the number 1 prospect in about 5 or 6 farm systems right now. Like, he's still a good prospect. It's just, other guys
Mariners have a really good farm. Yeah. Coming in at number 7 is the Mariners' first round pick in this past year's draft. He comes in at number 7 on both of our lists. That's Durangelo Senja, switch pitcher, 21 years old. He came in at number 8 the last time we did this list. Gets the 1 spot bump pretty much because of Harry Ford's fall. We still haven't seen him pitch in pro ball, just like with Ryan Sloan. So our opinion really isn't able to shift much here. It's really just, where does he start the year, right? That's kind of the big question here.
Probably Arkansas would be my guess. I don't really honestly.
I don't think that would be too aggressive, frankly.
I don't see really any reason for him not to start the year in Arkansas. So yeah, we know about Senja. He's smaller dude relative to what you think your frontline starter should look like, but he throws strikes. He's got good stuff. From the this is all from the right side where he'll actually do most of his pitching. It's pretty good slider, good fastball value. He's going to throw strikes. From the left side, it's a lot of average, kind of mediocre stuff, but it is something cool that he can do. And so long as it doesn't interfere with his development to the big leagues, I don't want to see a big problem with it. There is an outside shot that Senja could get innings for the Mariners this year. I would say that's pretty unlikely. I think my guess is that they would just like to have him stick around in Arkansas all year and get his workload in there. And again, like it is with all first-year pitchers, workload is a concern here. So you do have to be on the lookout for short scripts, and you do have to be on the lookout for skipping starts, and that's not necessarily a red flag. But yeah, Senja kind of on the smaller end stature-wise, but some pretty big stuff, some pretty loud velocity as well, and the cool switch pitcher thing. There's a lot of Marcus Stroman comps thrown out there, which I get, but also I think he's got better stuff than Stroman. So we'll see how it plays out. But if Senja is
that's also
Marcus
his favorite
Stroman,
pitcher growing up. So, there's going to be some influence in how he, handles himself on the mound and all that. So, yeah, the Stroman comps are very easy to make.
Yeah. So Senja, really excited to watch him pitch. And outside shot, he helps the Mariners at some point in 2025. But I think 2026, is very much on the table, depending on how this year goes.
Coming in at number 6 is Lazaro Montes, 20 years old, first base / outfielder, quote unquote, / DH. Comes in at number 6 on both of our lists. He was number 6 the last time we did this as well. So no change here for the Laz Montes, who crushed Modesto. Went to Everett, got off to a really slow start, and then crushed that level for the last few weeks of the season as well, and wound up turning his overall numbers down there into something pretty nice. So again, how good is the bat going to be? Because he has to hit. Right? He's not an outfielder. He's been playing outfield. He's not an outfielder. He's a first baseman or a DH, and probably a DH. Right? So we've all heard the insane comps of like Yordan Alvarez, he's baby Yordan, all that stuff. I actually did hear kind of an interesting comp. I forget who exactly mentioned it. It was in the Fangraphs interview with Justin Toole, though. Sorry to whoever did write that. I'm forgetting who did and who presented this question in this comp. But Nolan Jones was the name that was thrown out there on Laz Montes. See some Nolan Jones there with Laz?
Nowhere near the athleticism. Like no defensive value really whatsoever. Laz is a tough comp. He really is, because he's so big and he's so powerful. It's just so unique to see this type of profile. But like you said, he really struggled in high A, and then he kind of figured it out, and he'll probably start this year back in high A. He should, and earn his way to Modesto. And the bat could be something special. Like it very well could be. But there's still swing and miss issues. There's still defensive versatility issues. Like the idea that this guy could just be Carlos Piguero is still very much real. That is still a very real outcome for Laz Montes. The Yordan Alvarez outcome, it was never real. I mean, that's been a joke from the start. It's ridiculous to comp anybody to Yordan. So yeah, that there's just such a wide range of outcomes here for Laz that I really don't love putting him in the top 5, and I didn't. I know that some people have him as like the second best prospect in the Mariners system. I really don't know what they're looking at to suggest that. Maybe he's athletic enough to play the outfield for the first couple of years of his career, but ultimately we know he's a DH, and that limits his ceiling. And you have to be an elite hitter to be a full-time DH. And I don't know if Laz can get there because the swing and miss is still a problem. But lots of loud contact. Power is not a question whatsoever. seems to have a reasonably good understanding of his strike zone. So yeah, it's one of those things where I think it's a good thing that he went to Everett and struggled and then figured it out. And I think it would be great if that happened again in Arkansas sometime in the middle of this year. So Laz is still a guy I like. I have concerns about what happens if he's just a DH, and can he make enough contact to add value as a DH only, type of hitter, because there's only a handful of players right now in the baseball who have enough offensive value to be a full-time DH.
By the way, it was David Larilla who wrote the article on Fangraphs and did the interview with Justin Toole. I believe he brought up Nolan Jones specifically to Toole because I think Toole worked with, I think he was
he was in the Cleveland org.
Yeah, he was Nolan Jones's hitting coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jones has some swing and miss issues. He's got some power as well, but he's got 20 stolen base upside, and I think that's a stretch. But sometimes it's not a statistical comp. Sometimes it's just like, oh yeah, it just reminds me of this guy based on work ethic and swing and all that stuff. So who's to say? But yeah, I think
I just wanted to mention it because it's like anytime you hear a pro comp on Las Montes, it's either Yordan Alvarez or Carlos Peguero, and those are two complete ends of the spectrum, opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, it's such a unique build and skill set.
Yeah,
that it's just very, very hard to come up with a good comp for him. And there may not be a wider range of possible outcomes of any prospect on this entire list, and that's enough for me to keep him out of my top 5 in a very good Mariner system.
Yeah. But the fact that he still is number 6 in a really good Mariner system says a lot about how special the bat could be. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to see how his year plays out this year. All right, we are going to wrap up the top 10 with the top 5 coming your way in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is super easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Let's hop into the top 5 Mariners prospects heading into the 2025 season. Coming in at number 5, Michael Arroyo, 20-year-old infielder, comes in at number 5 on Colby's list, number 4 on mine. And he was number 4 the last time we did this. Arroyo is coming off of an excellent season down in the minors in which he answered quite a few questions that we had about him going into the season. Was he actually going to be able to hit for power? And he did that and then some. He slugged 500 in Modesto and then 519 in Everett. He actually wound up being a better hitter once he got to high A than when he was in Modesto. It's pretty ridiculous. He ends up hitting 23 home runs on the year as a whole. So I guess the question now is, one, probably going to start in Arkansas, but where does he start? I would assume it's going to be Arkansas. And 2, once he gets to Arkansas, whether that's at the start of the year or sometime relatively soon, relatively early on in the season, how is that power going to play in that ballpark for all the reasons that we just talked about with Harry Ford?
Yeah, I think kind of a side, note here is that he's a smaller dude, just a smaller stature guy. Yeah. So how much of the power in general is real? Now, he made some changes, like some legitimate changes, but is Arroyo actually a 20 home run guy, or is he more of a 10 to 12 home run guy who hits a lot of doubles. We'll see. But yeah, there's plenty to like about Arroyo. Again, he'll be 20 all year, so he's also a very young guy who, even if he doesn't start the year at Arkansas, probably finishes the year at Arkansas. So this is another, 20. He'll be 21 years old when there's a very real possibility he's major league ready. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, not quite sure where he's going to play defensively. I think probably second or third. I think shortstop's out, but he should be able to stick on the dirt. We think the arm is strong enough to play third. And, he's going to steal some bags too. He adds some base running value as well. So there are some swing and miss concerns here, but he also walks a ton, and he did hit for power last year. And those are two things that kind of can negate some swing and miss. And again, you're not looking for prospects who never strike out. That doesn't exist. But you look at the exit velos that we have, you look at the raw numbers that we have, you look at the year-to-year improvements that we've seen. Like, Arroyo is a player on the rise in just about every farm system rank you can find. And yeah, there's a shot he's top 2 or 3, when we do this again, and he might very well play himself into the upper echelon of prospects in the entire game. He's well on his way, and he's a really fun player to watch. And Arkansas is going to be a challenge for him, I think, at 20 years old, and we'll see how he responds, and if he can kind of, go through his growing pains and then come out the other side even better, which he did last year. So yeah, Arroyo is really exciting. And, I think Keith Law threw a Jose Ramirez comp on him as like a ceiling. And it's like, slow down a little bit, Keith.
If you squint your eyes and tilt your head to the side, you can see a little Jose Ramirez there.
Sure. I mean, Jose Ramirez is a Hall of Famer, so I don't like to put Hall of Fame comps on players, but sure. Yeah. I suppose that's in like the 150th percentile outcome. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, why not? They got Yordan Alvarez. Mm-hmm. They got Jose Ramirez. And they've got Francisco Lindor and Felton Celestin, who comes in at number 4. Look at that transition. Look at me go. Colby has him number 3 on his list, number 5 on my list. He was number 7 the last time we did this, so a nice little jump here for Felton Celestin. 19-year-old infielder who's already stateside, had 144 plate appearances in the Complex League and crushed it in those 144 plate appearances, but injuries have been the big story here with Celestin. He's had a lot of stop and start in his early pro ball career, and he just underwent surgery to repair the hamate bone in his was it his right wrist? I can't remember what it was. It doesn't say here, but so we'll see if he can stay healthy. That's kind of just the big thing here. But so far, it seems like Felton Celestin as good as advertised.
Yeah, it was his left hand, by the way.
It was the left hand. Okay.
So yeah, last year it was in the summer it was the hamate, and he had the hamstring. So he only played 32 games last year, and that's really the only thing that slowed him down. He is just incredibly talented. It is, we talk about Ty Pete, the athlete, and all that. Celestin's not as good of an athlete as like a Ty Pete, but he's pretty close. And his, athleticism to baseball skill, like that ability is off the charts. Like he shows it. He's going to be a shortstop. The only reason he wouldn't be a shortstop is if the Mariners just have a guy there by the time he's ready and they need to move him. There's really no doubt that he's going to wind up the middle or third base. There's no concern that he's going to end up being a left fielder as of right now. Good size. He's getting bigger and stronger every year as well. The power, the raw power is there. He's a plus runner, double plus runner, plus arm, above average shortstop, lots of hit tool, draws walks, hits line drives. Really the only question for Felton is how much power is going to develop. Now, again, he's 19 years old. He's barely played stateside. He'll be 19 all year. We'll see what the Mariners want to do with him this year. I assume he gets to Modesto at minimum. He might start at Modesto. Who knows? And end at Everett. But, we'll see how slow they want to take him because he's pretty polished for a 19-year-old. He just doesn't have a lot of reps for a 19-year-old, not in-game reps. So kind of this weird balancing act here, and you don't want to rush the kid. Again, he's only 19 years old, but he's a guy who could rock it through the big leagues and be, ready to go by 2027 at some point. Probably 2028 is more realistic, but yeah, the sky's the limit for Felton and Celestin. He's a really good prospect. There's just a lot of risk there because he's young and because he's so far away level wise from the big leagues, but skill set wise, he's as good as any of them.
All right. Coming in at number 3 is Johnny Farmelo, another one of those essentially first-round picks, 3 first-round picks that the Mariners had back in 2023. 20-year-old outfielder comes in at number 4 for Colby, number 3 for me, and he ranked 5th the last time that we did this. Farmelo's coming off of a torn ACL, yet his stock has continued to rise and rise and rise over the last few months. You look at pretty much every top 100 list or individual farm system ranking of the Mariners, and Johnny Farmelo is higher than he was the last time the previous iteration of those lists came out. I mean, it's not hard to wrap your head around why. Farmelo is an excellent athlete. ACL injuries are not the death knell that they used to be in any sport, really. He's still really young as well, so you would think that he should be able to recover from it fine, and that athleticism should still be present and then some. And he showed some really nice things in his first year of pro ball. He only played 46 games, 221 plate appearances before he tore the ACL, but a lot of stuff there to dream on. And really, again, just the question is, what does he look like coming back from the injury? I have high hopes that he'll look more than fine. But that's obviously going to be something that lingers here until we actually see him back on the diamond. So how are you feeling about Johnny Farmelo?
Yeah, I mean, before the injury, 70 speed, probably 60 raw power, maybe 50.
Yeah, when we had Brody Hopkins on the show, he said Farmelo hit a ball into the gap, and like by the time that he blinked, he was at third.
Yeah, like if there's a shot, Farmelo is the fastest guy in the organization, including Julio. Yeah. I believe Hopkins also said Farmelo is the only guy in the org who's a better athlete than he was, and Hopkins is a freak. So, yeah. Now, again, obviously we'll have to see how he feels coming off that injury, but he's also really good size, 6'2", 200 pounds already. There are some concerns here. He does kind of have that arm bar where he locks his front arm in the swing, very similar to a prospect we're probably going to talk about a lot over the spring. Jace Lavallee, I believe is how you pronounce his last name.
Is that actually how you say it?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, okay.
From A&M,
right.
Who was projected top 5 pick. He's kind of got this stiff
I'll learn
arm.
it. We have to learn all these guys,
right,
or at least the top guys.
Right. So he's kind of got this stiff arm, but it's one of those things where it's like, you don't change it until you have to, but that is a concern. There was some swing and miss in his game. Yeah, it just stays kind of locked. There is some swing and miss in his game. Again, the hit tool is pretty raw, but the raw power is plus, the speed is double plus, the defense is going to be really, really good, assuming he comes back back to what he was pre-injury. There's a shot that he is like poor man's Jacoby Ellsbury, or possibly you guys remember Grady Sizemore when he was healthy. Like that.
That was a comp that was put on Jared Kelenic a little bit as well.
Well, that's Farmelo's floor is Jared Kelenic,
sure,
who is still technically a major leaguer. But his ceiling is, it's really good. Maybe if you're kind of looking for a middle ground comp here, he might be Cedric Mullins. So,
okay.
Yeah, I really
I've
like
also
Farmelo.
seen Christian Yelich thrown out there.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty maxed out, but yeah, maybe. Not quite, 30 home run power, but steal some bags, 15 home runs, lots of doubles, high on base. Like, yeah, I think Farmelo could be a special player, but lots of questions still. And it's not just about the ACL.
I don't know how to explain this. I'll just say it anyway. Johnny Farmelo feels like a Yankees prospect. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right. Coming in at number 2 is Cole Young, 21-year-old infielder, last played in AA, comes in at number 2 on both of our lists and was number 2 the last time we did this. So not much has changed. And of course, we've talked your guys' ears off about Cole Young this offseason. So do we really even need to go over it?
He's going to make his debut this year. He makes a lot of contact, can still play shortstop, but he's going to be the Mariners' long-term second baseman. That's how they view him. Probably steals you 20 bags. Is he going to hit 10, 15 home runs? Is he going to hit 7? I guess we'll find out, but he's probably going to hit for a pretty good average. He's probably going to get on base. He's going to steal some bags, and he's going to play good solid defense up the middle. The Adam Frazier comp, like prime Adam Frazier, still a really good comp.
All right. Well, here we are. Number one. It's not a surprise whatsoever. He's been our number one the last few times we've done this list. And that is Colt Emerson, 19-year-old infielder. Comes in at number one on both of our lists. Was number one the last time we did this, just like I said. And I mean, what else can you say about the guy? He's going to be really good.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly think so.
I guess really my question is he going to be Kyle Seager or Corey Seager?
Yeah, I think Kyle Seager's a really good comp for him offensively. Ceiling probably Corey. It does feel like the Mariners view Emerson as their shortstop of the future, not their third baseman.
Yeah, I heard that he's slimmed down a little bit heading into this year.
Yeah, which, it can work either way. Maybe he's a little bit more athletic and whippy, but also maybe he loses some of the strength. So it's kind of one of those, catch-22s. But Emerson doesn't turn 20 until the middle of July. He'll start the year in Everett. That's about it. I feel as locked in with that as just about anything, because he went there last year and he struggled. He struggled in Everett, and that's fine. That's good. I guess what I would say about Emerson, to kind of just highlight how good he is, at least for me, the Mariners have a top 3 pick. There are, right now, I'd say there are 4 players that I would deem to be acceptable picks at number 3. Right? There's Arnold, there's Arquette, there's Lavallee, and there is Bremner. Arnold, I would rank ahead of Emerson.
Okay.
I'd probably rank Arquette ahead of him, just because he's also a shortstop who also very similar, just older, closer to the big leagues. I don't know that I would rank the other 2 ahead of Colt Emerson. That's how good I feel about him. So Emerson still has a shot to be the number 1 prospect, even after the Mariners make that selection. He's very good. And I do think the Kyle Seager comp is really solid in terms of that's just not floor, because if your floor is Kyle Seager, you're a Hall of Famer. But that feels like the 75th percentile, like middle of the
and the 100th percentile is Corey.
I think Corey Seager is probably the 100th percentile, or maybe Gunnar Henderson, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
So he's
how much power is he going to hit for? Right.
Sure.
Because I mean, how many homers did the Gunnar Henderson hit this year?
I'm not sure. Now, remember, Colt only hit 4 last year.
37.
Yeah.
So
Colt only hit 4 last year.
Yeah.
But, he also only played 70
And Corey
games.
Seager has hit 30 plus 3 times in his career as well. Yeah.
Right. But the raw power is there. The swing is there. The bat speed is there. I think he's going to get to 20 home runs. I feel pretty comfortable about that. That's ultimately why I think Kyle Seager is like a really good, solid comp for Emerson. He's a good player, and just think about Kyle Seager's offense, like good Kyle Seager's offense, but he can actually play shortstop. That's an even more valuable player than Kyle Seager, who is really, really freaking good. So Emerson, he's number 1. There was never a doubt in my mind. I think the gap between number 1 and number 2 on my list is probably larger than the gap between like 2 and 7. Like it's pretty it's pretty noticeable just how big the difference is, because there's floor and upside with Emerson, and they're both really high.
All right, well, there you have it. That is our top 30. Let's go over it real quick again, one more time. Number 30, Carlos Jimenez. Number 29, Blas Castano. Number 28, Jared Sundstrom. 27, Grant Knipp. 26, Ashton Izzy. 25th, Jeter Martinez. 24th, Kendry Martinez. 23rd, Tyler Guff. 22nd, Brock Roden. 21st, Brock Moore. 20th, Teddy McGraw. 19, Troy Taylor. 18, Josh Caron. 17, Hunter Cranton. 16, Tyler Locklear. 15, Michael Morales. 14, Ben Williamson. 13, Logan Evans. 12, Brandon Garcia. And 11, Jorge Bautista. Number 10, Ryan Sloan. Number 9, Ty Pete. Number 8, Harry Ford. 7, Durangelo Sanja. Number 6, Laz Montes. Number 5, Michael Arroyo. Number 4, Felton Celestin. Number 3, Johnny Farmello. Number 2, Cole Young. And number 1, Colt Emerson. So there you go. So the next time that we do this will be sometime after the trade deadline, to allow for the Mariners to, maybe clear out some of these guys. Obviously, the draft will have happened by then, and all that good stuff. So If you're interested in prospect stuff, we'll see you again on this front in August. So yeah. All right. That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.